I'm Brent Leary.
Paul Greenberg.
You know that by now. Why do we always do that? I mean,
I don't know. What if we didn't though? It would be like there's a hole in the world if we didn't do it.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't want any holes in the world, so
No.
we are the CRM Playaz.
Thank God for that.
And it's another great Thursday. We have a full show ahead of us. It's going to be cool. We have guests, and I said guests for the venerable Paul Greenberg's sake because a little bit of surprise for him.
Yeah.
But no, but later on, we're glad to bring back. We talked to him last year, and we went to the conference last year. We went to the conference this year, and I'm glad that I'm glad to be. Do we want to say who it is now, or we're going to hold out?
We can. We can say who it is. Maybe we'll do a intro, pre-intro. No. Actually, you know what? No. Let's wait.
We'll wait. In the meantime, we don't have to wait because the moment is fin has arrived, folks.
Oh, thank God. Oh,
good
boy.
Lord, what is that?
Whoa. Vasve Vidim. Okay.
That's a good one.
I don't know what they have me here. I'm sort of want to say Turkish, but it's not quite that.
I'm gonna say Romanian or something.
It could be. See, that's the thing. It's something. Oh God, this is a tough one. You know what? Romanian might not be the worst answer, or Hungarian, one or the other.
Something with like the IAN at the end there, Sven.
Well, it's also the little reverse caret over the S that kind of makes me want to think it's one of the Eastern European Romance languages.
Well, all right, Sven, let us know what it is and what you're saying. I'm glad we're back down to like the sentence versus the paragraph.
Yeah. Let's go with Hungarian and Romanian as the two guesses.
Okay. And Sven will let us know what that is.
I really don't know though on this one. This is a hard one. And Turkish was my original inclination, but
but once again, we are look, Croatian.
The
week is
running. We were in the ballpark with
Romanian
Hungary, really. Ballpark. It would have been closer. But I was thinking at one point Czech, maybe Croatian. The week is running. Happy to see you all.
Could the week slow down? Maybe a fast-paced, a brisk walk or something like that?
I would hope weeks. I'm 73, man. I want those weeks to slow up.
All right, but once again, we are the CRM Playaz, and we have been bringing the as since 2009. I just like saying that.
No, that's like as long as Arizona doesn't sue us, I'm good. Right. So.
Were we bringing the as before we knew we were bringing the as? Because we really didn't know we were bringing the as until like 3-4 weeks ago.
Well, that's sort of an esoteric question, really, a little bit existential, but the answer is yes, we were. Even if we didn't know it, we still were bringing it.
So a tree does fall in the forest.
That's right.
A tree does fall in the forest if no one's there to hear it. Okay, well,
yes.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So before we, bring out our guests and do a lot, we, you know us, we have a little routine. We have some things we like to announce for things that catch our attention, and literally 2 things, like not too long before we start the show here, caught my attention. The first one is, if I can bring this up, got this notification from Business Insider.
I just saw that. I saw that just as we were getting on. I didn't get a chance to.
That's what I didn't get a chance to read it, but the article. This does not sound good. The OpenAI's GPT-4 got dumber.
And wow, so Jim Carrey's involved somehow with
AI experts point to a secret overhaul by Open.
So what is that supposed to mean? The people who paid for Open. For GPT paid for 4. The ones who didn't were getting 3.5. So now OpenAI decided to make the product worse.
Well, it's particularly interesting because in the context, the second thing I saw, which is AI
Yeah,
Appreciation Day is coming just in time. Deteriorating AI just in time for AI Appreciation Day. How you like that?
that I don't. I literally don't. I mean, that is ridiculous. That
somebody
is
said. Somebody said, it, "Did ChatGPT make us its own appreciate?" I said no because I don't think this sounds like something a human would, a lowly human would come up with. But now after seeing the depreciating AI, maybe it did. I don't know.
right. Dumb and Dumber. It's working out perfectly. Dumb, they overhauled it. Dumber, they have an AI Appreciation Day, right?
But look at this hashtag something. And have you ever heard of AI Heart? It says AI Heart brings you the first official AI. What the hell is AI Heart?
I have no idea, which is completely contradictory since AI does not have a heart,
That's
right?
what
So
it's we're getting weird here. But look at the
I know.
hashtag this sucker is creating. Do you really want to use this without AI? I wouldn't have. Are you kidding me? What is
God,
that?
that ridiculous. This, you know what? AI heart. I've never attributed a thought process involving the brain to a heart, particularly, but AI heart is completely stupid,
You know
right?
what? I just want my AI like HAL 9000. That's why I put my boy or my whatever AI HAL 9000. That's what
Yeah,
I think of.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know what that other thing is, but that hashtag is real. It's got to go.
It's horrible. The
Nobody
whole
wants to
thing's
use that.
horrible. Whoa, and it's whoa, of course. And I mean, and you notice that that the date is a Sunday, like so it's already a day off. So what he's probably going to think, well, they gave AI it's a holiday now.
Yeah, and look, the no mail comes on the holiday, so it's a
Right, that's right.
God. I don't know. People are losing their minds with this AI stuff. It's just gets to be a little overwhelming. But that just caught my attention. We had depreciating AI right before the AI Appreciation Day, which is really
As much as I'm a glass half full person, I have to say, uh, our there's a lot of really stupid people out there. I mean, just genuinely stupid. Like not unintelligent, stupid, right?
okay. Don't hold back. Let us know how you feel.
Wow.
And letting us know how he feels is it says John Reed, but we all know when he comes on this show, it isn't John Reed, it's the Bro Hammer.
That's
And
right.
the
The
Bro
bro
Hammer
hammer
is saying,
himself.
without AI, I wouldn't. This is really interesting that he's saying that at this particular time. And I'll let you know why in a second. But without AI, I wouldn't have massive political polarization. Interesting. I don't know. I think we have
Without
maybe not as
AI, I
massive.
wouldn't
I don't
have
know.
AI.
Yeah. Whoa. How does that sound? All right.
Think
So before we
true.
get into our guests, a couple of announcements, a couple of things to look out for. One on Monday, the In the Hot Seat group.
Yeah, this is
They're
a
pulling this one's a really interesting one here. They're pulling like CX experts from around the globe together to talk about whether CX is different, in all these different geographical locations.
I
Interesting. And I see
I
one
think
face that we know, right?
yeah, really well too. Our man Jesus Hoyos.
So they got folks coming from the UK, North America, Europe, Latam, Middle East, and Africa to talk about CX from all the different geographical perspectives. That ought to be pretty cool.
I think this show is going to be spectacular. Actually, you know what's really interesting to me? No one I know has ever covered it that way. Not that way.
Well, that's why PPN
Ever.
is so special because
That's
we
wow, what
do
a
things
plus.
that other people don't dare to do.
Yeah, works
I
to our
guess.
advantage sometimes.
Yeah,
Right?
sometimes. All right. So that's Monday, 1 to 2:30 Eastern.
No, it's their first lengthy show too.
It is
An
the
hour and
first
a half.
extended. It's
Yep,
in the hot seat extended. We'll see.
that's
Does it
right.
get hotter?
ITHS E dash E.
All right. So that's not the only thing coming up next week. Guess this is cool. The first time that we're gonna have a friend that we've known for years
I know. I
want to
mean,
join
at
the Connect
least 10,
there.
12.
At least. So
At
that's
least.
next CRM Playaz. Meg Bear, President and Chief Product Officer for SAP SuccessFactors. A little different area for us, but we go where we want to go with this, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Meg is like such a perfect person for this. She aside from the you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'll save it for the intro next week.
Yeah, please save it.
That's right. Don't want to give away my intro.
All right, and
it will be definitely good one.
This is going to be cool because we had this gentleman on when we were at Pega, and unfortunately, the audio quality just wasn't good enough. And this dude deserves good audio quality, so he's going to join me, James Dodkins. He's going to join me for a few good minutes next Wednesday. Now, if you notice, this is a very nice picture of him. You know, it's got a nice, pleasant smile, pleasant look on his face.
Right. But
and this was on his current LinkedIn profile. Now, the first time a couple of weeks ago when I went to grab a picture, this is not the smiling image I saw. You want to see what I saw?
Yeah, I do.
That's what I saw. I was very do I really want to talk to this dude? This dude looks like he's getting ready to star in a movie. Like James Dodkins is Conan the Barber. You know, he just has that kind of look. But he's in a rock band too. And those are
although it's Conan the Barbarian, his weapon seems to be a pen.
Well, that's okay. You know, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah. Ooh. So he's gonna beat Arnold Schwarzenegger out.
So that's coming next Wednesday. Okay.
He's awesome, that guy.
Got a lot of that out. Before we go to something that I know you love doing.
Oh my God, my favorite thing ever.
One quick thing.
Without AI, I wouldn't have that thing.
One quick thing. We had the premiere episode of Whispering Insights. Somebody told me to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't work. I'm sorry. The whispering part doesn't.
Especially when you think about
whispering is. You know what the problem with whispering is? You can't hear it. Right. So.
And no, the other problem is, when's the last time or the first time you ever heard Esteban Kolsky whisper?
Never.
Absolutely.
Well,
but
actually, he tried. He did try on the show.
It didn't work.
Did not work.
But what did work was the inaugural episode. And just a little taste so that you can see what you missed out on. We go back and check out the whole thing and be sure to catch the next one. But check out this little interlude between who we call the irascible Esteban Kolsky and the father of corporate narrative,
right?
Alan Berkson. This is a nice little exchange, and this is what to expect when you watch Whispering Insights.
It's a commodity. If you think people are hiring you because of what you know, you're sadly mistaken.
Your value is not as a content producer. Your value is as a dot connector. The whisperer is a person who can connect the dots and provide critical thinking, outside of the box thinking that is like a different perspective on things. There's no value in saying what everybody else said. It's becoming incredibly hard and challenging to be differentiated. And this is one of the problems that analyst firms, Gartner, Forrester, IDC, Constellation, everybody who's out there as an analyst. And the content that you produce needs to be produced at a scale, at a speed that you didn't have to before. So then you resort to simple content like waves and magic quadrants and lists and things like that. You need both dot connectors and content producers. The value of content producer get commoditized.
I don't agree with that at all. Blogging is not about how many people are going to read your blog. The value of a blog is how many people are going to share it.
I totally disagree.
Blog is a conversation that I've had with.
A blog is a conversation starter. It's not the conversation itself.
It's a record of a conversation.
That's a part of it. That's a starter.
If you're going to nitpick my use of conversation.
I'm not nitpicking. I'm actually going for the outcome of the blog versus.
The outcome of the blog is a written record of something that came out of a conversation. And if I'm having a conversation with let's say a customer, and they come with an interesting problem, and I come up with an interesting solution or a valuable insight, I'm going to go write about that, because if that person had that problem, there were probably a lot of other people who had it.
I have never used a blog that way. I'm sorry, I disagree with you, but I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I disagree. Every blog I ever wrote opened a door that I needed to be open. When you make a phone call, when you send an email, when you send a text to somebody, and they said, I know who you are because I read what you wrote and I'd love to talk to you more about that. That's what the purpose of the blog is.
Nice little back and forth there with the fellas. A little bickering going. I like a little bickering. I think it's good.
Well, that's almost a guarantee for that show, right? It's the only show that has a formal disclaimer in front of it from PPN.
But are you team Esteban or team Allen on that one?
On that, I'm team Allen, a little closer to team Allen, I think. I mean, Esteban has the point Esteban makes, which I agree with, is dot connector point. Because I mean, it's basically a connector kind of person. I mean, that's partly because that the value is in your ability to tie ideas together. Look, when I do speeches, let's say, I never worry about the content I'm providing. I only worry about the transition between ideas. And that's the dot connection itself, right? How I can go from this idea to this idea and make it clear that there's an actual relationship between the ideas. It's not just, oh, I'm talking about this, and then I'm talking about this, and then I'm talking about this, right? That's really can be that. On the blog side, I still, even with John's comment, I understand where Esteban's coming from, but I think that a blog actually provides a foundation for a conversation. Where it goes after, it depends on your definition of what he means by starter. You can have an entire conversation on it via blog, and it can continue afterwards, and technically that's a blog starting a conversation. But you can also have the sole content on the blog, right? And the content is the conversation during that blog thing.
Yeah, this is really interesting that John Reed is commenting here, because he's actually here too.
Oh, what a shock!
The bro hammer, you jumping all in, getting involved in that. You like what I brought you in for another reason, but it sounds like you have a thought or two. Are you team Esteban or team Allen on this particular topic?
Well, I'm both really, and to be fair, they didn't really disagree completely, because Esteban also said that his blog sparked conversations. So there's a conversational aspect to this, but I think ultimately Alan's viewpoint, in my view, sorry, Alan, is a little dangerous, because I think if everything has to stem from a conversation, it becomes a herd mentality. Sometimes the best blogs are just you alone facing your creator and writing something completely different that you think the world needs to think about. And it doesn't come from any conversation. It comes from your soul. It comes from your intellect. It comes from the heart of who you are. And to interfere with that and to claim that you have to be talking to people in order to have a good idea, I hate that. And I don't think that's what Alan meant.
I agree with you.
And I don't think that's what Alan meant, but I think that's the danger of what he's saying. We have way too much of this crap today in the social circus that we live in, of like, oh, let me just parrot whatever I heard today, as opposed to like, let me just step back, reflect, and come up with some unique viewpoint. And to me, that when Esteban writes a really good blog, which, by the way, Esteban, you haven't done nearly enough of the last few years. So you got to get on the stick. His best blogs were like that. So
honestly, I will tell you the truth. Look, my blog post averaged about 4,000 words. Nobody had a comment from him. I would never get comments.
I was going to say, Paul, if your blogs are based on conversations, those are some long ass conversations you have, man.
And I'm only having them with myself entirely, right? So, so in that regard, yeah. I mean, again, I think a lot of that was just kind of slightly different definitions of the same thing, right? Yeah. But and I don't think there was really any disagreement. A blog can be a conversation starter. It can be a conversation, and it can be, simply to your point, something you put out there, and what happens afterwards.
All right, guys,
let's move on. Necessarily driving a conversation.
I can tell we can talk about this forever, but we don't have enough time because we got to do something.
Sorry to crash the show with ideas.
I know. Bro Hammer comes in, wrecking shop and all that kind of stuff. All right, but we got to do this, because I actually brought him in for a specific reason, and here's why.
And now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the venerable Paul Greenberg, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
All righty. Okay. That's right. It's Stomp the Godfather time. I don't care.
You just said stomp.
I stomped the God.
You did it again. I thought you were past that already.
It's Stomp the Godfather time. Sorry about that.
Why not just make it the worst possible? Stomp the grandfather. That'll do it.
Let's move on.
My favorite segment ever.
This one hit me. Such an interesting thing. Actually, let me do this. That's the actual question. Before I do that, NVIDIA, this is the setup. So I get all, Seeking Alpha comes, you get all these notifications. This one caught my attention. NVIDIA recently had a 1-day stock price increase of $184 billion. 1 day. But that's not the biggest 1-day stock increase for any one particular stock, which leads me to the question: what was the biggest 1-day increase in market cap value by a single stock in U.S. history? Now, there was I don't know, did you see the hint there?
Yeah, I did. I saw the date, but I don't know.
You saw the number that, because I want to give you a chance on this one. So NVIDIA's 1-day stock increase was 184 billion. That's the third most. The question is, what was the single highest 1-day stock increase for a single stock in terms of dollars? So NVIDIA was 184 billion.
Oh, you're saying the actual dollar amount.
What's the actual dollar amount of the biggest 1-day stock increase? Anybody out there want to play along? Put your answer in the comment section. I'm going to give the floor to the Brohammer, since he's the guest.
Yeah.
To take his shot.
Is this kind of like The Price is Right?
Yeah.
You get a new car.
No.
Let's see. I'm going to go 220 billion.
220 billion. That sounds like a pretty good guess,
I'm going to go 231 billion.
Oh, he's like, it is The Price is Right.
I was the number I had in my head, and literally I have no foundation to make that number.
I know it's not Twitter. I ruled that out, but other than that, I'm really not sure which company this is.
Could be Apple, could be a company would never think of. Who the hell knows?
I know it wasn't when
we're just talking about the number,
though, right?
November 10th, 2022. November 10th, it was November 10th, 2022, according to that.
You want? I'll go back. The actual number that NVIDIA had was 184 billion.
No, and I see how the chart extends out, and you can,
which is the third most. So what is the biggest? So John, you sticking with, what'd you say, 220 something?
I got to stick with 220, man. I can't back off from that.
All right.
And I'll stick with 231. Again, that was the number that came to me for no reason whatsoever.
And Neil McHugh says 2 bits, which is probably a little low, but
October 29, 1929.
And Connie, you're jumping the gun there a little bit with the company names that Berkshire. People are coming in with company names. All right, Connie, 190 million. Oh, no, we said billion, Connie. So maybe you mean 190 billion. So we're going to say 190 billion for Connie.
We'll give you that as a B.
Yeah, we'll give her. All right, so we got 220 from the Brohammer. We got 231 from the Godfather. We've got 190 from Connie Krupp. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. The answer is, drum roll, Connie came real
Connie
close.
Nailed it by 7.
Wow.
$191 billion increase in 1 day.
And who was it?
All right. You want to take a shot at that? Who was it? You guys want to take
I'm guessing Connie knows the answer. It's Amazon. So
does she?
I don't know. I'm guessing. It was pretty specific.
Yeah, I think given the time frame, Amazon does kind of make sense, but
right.
Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see if that is right. The answer is Apple and Amazon.
Oh, so it's first and second were exactly tied.
Tied for the biggest single day increase. That's a lot of money in 1 day.
That wasn't the day. That wasn't the day Apple announced the headset, was it?
No, I don't think
it was the day they both announced that they were going to integrate with ChatGPT.
I see. Okay, cool. Yeah,
right.
Connie, much props to Connie.
Yeah. Hey, Connie, if you want for that, I'm not saying this is a great prize, but I will send you a free copy of my last book on customer engagement, The Commonwealth of Self-Interest. Just, we need your address. So
she win both showcases.
Right.
Yeah, she absolutely does win both showcases. She cleaned up, man. She's within one bill. Absolutely.
Give her a car. Look,
Yeah,
Megan, do you have one?
Thank you, Megan. No, thanks. Do you have a second car, Megan, we can borrow to do that with?
Yeah. All right. Hey, Celia.
Connie
all right,
did it, man.
So
Connie,
so the official winner?
Yeah, it's Connie. It's Paul-Greenberg 3. Oh no, it's Paul at playazproductionsnetwork.com. Playaz, P-L-A-Y-A-Z, productionsnetwork.com. If you want a free book, and if you don't, I take no offense whatsoever. If you want a free book, send me an email with your address, and I will send it out to you as soon as I see it.
All right. Thanks again. And thanks to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot for sponsoring Stump the Godfather AI. That's the smart AI that's sponsoring us, not that dumbed down stuff.
It's not AI heart.
Yeah.
AI heart.
Yeah. AI with no heart.
AI heart. Oh my God.
All right. And thanks to the Brohammer for stepping in, joining us. Sure. Always a pleasure to have you on, sir.
Good and fuzzy today.
Hey, check out the conversation. He invited me on with him, and we were geeking out about enterprise video and mobile video.
I saw his comments on that.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I really enjoyed it. Got lots to talk about on that. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
You got it. Have a good one, y'all.
All righty. All right. And now it's time for our special guest. And as always, we turn things over to the Venerable Paul Greenberg for the introduction of our special guest.
So we have had this guest before. So I'm just going to tell you who he is, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about him too. He's the CEO of Verint, Dan Bodner. Verint, for those of you who do know Verint, they're a company, one of the leaders actually in customer engagement, customer experience platforms. They are, and we'll get into some of the other things they're doing, which expand their footprint actually quite a bit when we bring them on. But I want to tell you something about Dan. So at Verint Engage, which Brent and I were at beginning of the month of June, rather, I had a conversation just hanging around with Dan. And one of the things I always really enjoy about him is that he's a CEO, not only with a heart, but someone who likes people. I mean, he genuinely likes people, and he likes talking with them. He enjoys getting feedback from them. He takes it in. He actually does something with it. Look, we know a lot of CEOs of large companies, and let's just say you have to go through 5,000 people just to get 5 minutes to talk to them. And that, you know what? I'm sorry, they're not that important to my life or anyone else's life that I need to go through all that just to get to them. Sorry, I don't care what your press is. But Dan isn't like that. Dan has always made himself available to others. He's not worried about what their position or title is. He is a great human being, as well as a CEO who is running a highly successful company that actually is $1 billion company. So that's the best I can say, because I have no more respect for a human being. I have more respect for a human being like Dan than I have for any CEO that I have to talk to 5,000 people before I get to have 5 minutes with the exalted presence of that individual. So with that, let's just bring this guy on. Hi.
There he is.
There's the man. Yeah.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Brent. Thanks for the kind words.
All true.
You got me. You just nailed me.
Thanks for taking time to join us again. We couldn't catch up to you because there's a lot going on at Engage, but we're glad that you're able to join us for now. And let me just set the stage a little bit, because we did talk to you after last year's Engage, and here's a little piece of what you had to say then, and I think it may lead into an interesting discussion about where we are today. So hopefully I got this right. See if this is the right one.
And
that ain't the right one.
No, that's definitely not the right one.
Here's the right one. But with these expectations, but companies are going to have to figure out a way to do it with limited budgets. These numbers are pretty staggering.
If they don't apply new technology, they have to hire more people. $2 trillion a year. That's 97% of the spend. Only 3% is technology.
Wow.
I think the industry has been really thirsty for technology. The technology was not ready. It's getting better. It's not perfect, but AI is now at the point that it can do more. It doesn't replace people, but it can assist people. So rather than add human resources, you can add technology resources. More importantly, if you get human bots to work together, that's where you not only get more capacity, but you also elevate the customer experience. Because we all know when you leave it up to the bot to do your work, it's not always ending there.
All right.
Never ends well.
Okay. So you said that I wanted to bring this and play that clip because you were talking about this stuff well before all the hubbub about Gen AI and Open AI and ChatGPT. This was like 6 months before that it broke off. But now that it has, all this stuff has caught attention. How does those new technologies, large language models, ChatGPT, Gen AI, how is that impacting the way that you and Verint approach the engagement capacity gap for your customers?
Yeah, so the gap is still there, and AI has the promise to close the gap. So I spoke about it last year, but we started to build it 5 years ago. We introduced Verint Da Vinci AI models. And honestly, the last few years, it was really AI models that were developed by Verint. Now Da Vinci incorporates any AI model from any commercial vendor. So there's a great acceleration in the AI technology, which we incorporated Da Vinci. And when you build your Da Vinci AI, which is at the core of the platform, every application on the platform now can benefit from AI very quickly. So I think we now benefit from the architecture decisions we made a few years back. And the industry always was ready for automation. I don't think automation was ready for the industry. And finally, I think we're meeting each other at a very practical point.
Let me ask you something that's relatively speculative about all this. Brent, in the very beginning of the show, had seen this thing which basically said that ChatGPT 4 has gotten dumber, right? And that there actually OpenAI deliberately did some. I forget the word. What's the? You have the. Yeah, there it is. They said that OpenAI overhauled it, probably. I don't understand how are they thinking if that actually is true? What do you think they're thinking? Because I don't even get that. Why would they do it? What's the point?
I can't speculate on why, but what we do need to remember that the best AI can only be as good as the data that is trained on. And depends what's the use case you're targeting, and what's the data set that is the underlying premise for getting automation. So if it's the internet, obviously it's one set of constraints and a strategy. The way we use generative AI is we train it on customer engagement data, which is very unique and specific to our industry, but it's also not easily available. The customer engagement data is trapped in silos across the entire enterprise. And putting it together, it's not easy because it's not structured. It's speech and voice, and it's video, and it's interactions like we have now, right? You have to capture this interaction and be able to get something out of it. So you need to train AI on relevant data. And the strategy that you take with AI really very much depends on, do you have the data available? Is it fresh data and real-time data, or you're training on historical data? These are really very important considerations. So I can explain to you the Verint strategy with AI, and because we have fresh, real-time, relevant data in our platform, But there's a lot of different use cases that take different strategies.
So actually, it might be helpful for people, because there is a lot of discussion around this and has been continuing for a long time, is you mentioned you're very focused specifically on customer engagement data. Can you talk about categorically, like some of the things what that actually means? Like what are some of the things that are called customer engagement data? Because I think a lot of people generalize, but they're not very specific about it.
Right. I mean, it's a very, very good question, and a topic that requires a little definition. So it's really any engagement like we have now, right? When people talk to people, it's an engagement. So we can be engaged in different channels. It could be telephony, chat, email, social, any type of engagement that is called an interaction. It's a lot of different modality. It could be voice, video, text, but all this engagement data is behavioral type data, and it doesn't exist in any database. It's not in the CRM database. It's not in the ERP database. So it's interactions that are trapped in a lot of different communication systems that are not talking to each other. In addition to the interaction data, there's survey data. Enterprise is taking a lot of effort to get feedback from their customers through survey, and it's again not just email surveys. It could be voice surveys, it could be text surveys, SMS, a variety of different surveys. Collecting all that survey data and putting it into the same data hub, so you have, because it's another type of interaction, right? So you want to have a holistic view on what happened when people are engaging. And finally, it's your workforce behavioral performance data. You want to know, what your people are good at and not, because that ties back right to the core question, how do you increase CX? How do you improve sentiment? And we're probably going to get to that later, but, bots can do many things today, and I'm happy to talk to you about, what, but I tell you what bots are not doing. They don't have the empathy that people have. And your introduction about me personally, as a people person, I've yet to invent the bot that can do that well.
Well, speaking of inventing bots, there were several bots that were announced at Engage. Matter of fact, before I ask you this question, here's we had a chance to do the CRM Playaz live at Verint Engage, and asked a number of the folks there, executives, what their favorite bot was. Yeah, you want to hear what they said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Favorite bot, because they all have these names, these nice, cute names.
I think it was Freddie, the forecasting bot.
Freddie the forecaster. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to root for him because I think forecasting is very important.
Do I have a favorite? All my children, I have to choose your parents. Sophie's Choice is hot.
Which is always a favorite.
I went a little morbid there. I'm sorry.
Really?
I really like the summary bots that we're doing. I had an insurance customer come to me. They estimated that they would save $28 million just by deploying that one bot. We've done a lot of applying AI to what the agent's doing every day. And we thought originally they could perceive this as like Big Brother, like we're watching them. It's surveillance-y feeling. But no, their employee engagement and employee happiness went up. Attrition went down. You know why? Because we're giving them tools that make their job better.
Why would I not love the Insight bot?
Right.
I'm an industry analyst. We're all about the Insight bot.
What's the first bot you think they're going to gravitate toward?
Some of them are obvious, like the
summary bot.
Yeah,
that's
the wrap up is like, oh well, who couldn't use that?
Yeah,
those kinds of things.
What's your go-to bot?
The after call work summary bot, very useful. It's surprisingly more accurate than what an agent typically does.
Wow.
And more consistent. It does save time and also helps the next agents. So
Dora the Insight bot. The promise of what you can do with data has been there for a long time, but it's been held back to IT and to analysts, data scientists. They've been able to do this stuff for a long time. But the ability for any user in an organization to say, hey, tell me what's going on. Tell me why. And they can fix their piece of the problem right away. That amount of power is incredible. I don't think something like that's been seen before.
I don't have a purpose right now. It's like asking, who's your favorite child? Nobody's going to tell you that. It was always Dorothy.
All right, Dan. So you did. There was a lot of bot discussion and the kind of the way that you talked about infusing Gen AI through bots to handle specific use cases. That was a different way that I heard vendors talk about Gen AI. Most of it was, oh, we've got it.
Right.
But you guys actually talk about it in terms of things that you are already doing, and in just integrating it in and doing it for specific things. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, but also you definitely have to tell us what your favorite bot was.
I knew it's coming. So before I disclose my my vote here, you need to take the generative AI, and these models need to be trained. So all bots are going to the gym 24/7, and the gym is the data, the engagement data. So that's the first thing. And then after they're trained and they're very good at what they do, they need to be available at the fingertips of the agents, so that they don't disrupt the agent. So my favorite bots, and I have more than one, are actually the one that the agent like. Because believe it or not, there's some agents that use some bots more than others because they feel like I love them. And the summary bots, which was many people's favorite, and I think someone said that, agents don't like to write summaries. That's not their job. They're not good at writing. They don't care about, summarizing the call they just finished. So they love to invite the bot to, hey, do it for me. And that's the whole idea of the Verint bot. As we say, our philosophy is to augment the workforce. And you can only augment the workforce if the workforce welcome that. It's not because their CEO told them, hey, we need automation. It's because they feel like, if I give this task to the bot, which I don't like anyway, maybe I'll have more time to develop a relationship with the client. Maybe I can show some more empathy and successfully end the call with very high CX score. And maybe I also can sell something if that's in my mandate, so I can upsell the customer something, and that's obviously good for everyone. So those are the bots that I like, and there are a number of bots that people mentioned that are clearly favored by the agent, like the summary bot, like the knowledge search bot, right? Which who wants to put the customer on hold for 30 seconds so I can go and search knowledge? If I can send the bots to give me the knowledge in 5 seconds, that's a win-win. Shorter call, much less wait time for the customer, and less unnecessary work for the agent. These are the bots that win.
Well, to your point, one of the things that I loved what you did with what you've done with the bots, I should say. And the reason I love it is not just because I thought it was kind of cool the way you approached it, but was actually each bot is tied to a genuinely important use case of some kind, right? And meaning it's functional, right? And the power of generative AI, I saw somebody, I don't even remember who, said something very interesting about it. They just said it's right-brained AI. Right. And which is actually a really good way to approach it. With you guys infusing your bots that way, you actually have a holistic bot, right? So you have the left and the right brain bot, right? So, what you've done, and this I think is really important, is every bot has a reason to exist. Each bot carries out a capability that, to your point, augments something that a human being is doing. And you've also managed to infuse it with, as much personality as you can infuse a bot with. You've managed to actually do that, right? But the names, the actual, and the way you approach them, even the way you represented them on the stage with those remarkable they all look pretty much the same, but it was remarkable 3D kind of visibility on the stage. I didn't even know, it was insanely good. But you also can have fun with the bots too, which will of course make people appreciate them even more, because they'll, look, ultimately your customers are going to be mostly tied to bots, right? In the sense that this thing works for me, it's got a name, right? And my work becomes better as a result of me using it. You've nailed this better than any company I've seen anywhere. And this is an important thing because it's all use case based, all of it. And ultimately, all of these technologies are useless until there are use cases that are meaningful for it. So it's a big winner here for you guys.
Thank you for that. And yes, customers are tied to outcomes. And
both always
bots make it very easy for them to measure and understand the outcome that is expected from the technology.
Yep. More so than any other ones I've ever seen.
So we got one thing right. Okay.
You know what? That puts you in the top 5% of companies.
But how have the conversations with your customers changed as everybody starts talking about AI because of what happened with OpenAI and ChatGPT? How have those conversations with your customers changed, and how is that if those conversations have forced you to kind of look at even the AI differently, even though you guys have a history of working with it?
Yes. So customers are obviously as excited about AI as all of us on this call. They have been waiting for something that will, show promise to really work, and they've been promised before by technology things that made things better, but AI has the promise of making things much better. And as you said, customers now, as they go and talk to vendors, they hear about Gen AI, but that means nothing. So CIOs have mandate, let's put Gen AI in the company, and they are. But how do you put Gen AI in customer service? That's not as straightforward as just buying some engines and incorporating them into the IT infrastructure. And I think that's the conversation. Is Verint is helping you put this AI at the fingertips of the agents, and how, right? And then, of course, the data again, and training in the gym, in the data gym, is so important because nobody wants to give, whether it's the agents or the consumers, to give them bots that frustrates them because they don't know what they're doing. So our bots are very good at doing one thing, and not big things. They don't have big brains. Right. They actually have small brains. They only do one thing in their entire life, but they do it very well because they train at that one thing all the time. And that's why when the agent call upon them to help, they can expect that it's actually going to do the job, which means eventually 30 seconds, 1 minute less on the call, and much more time for the agent to think and to work through the issues. So that's the conversation. How the technology becomes real in my organization without disrupting my agents, because, hey, we have thousands of calls coming in every day. We don't have time for the agents to change the way they work because some AI may be. So we embedded AI into the workflows that the agents already are using. No disruption, and I think that's what excites customers about. I don't need to go through some big change management here and redesigning processes just because there's some new technology. It's really blending really, really nicely into my existing workflows.
All right. So
I think, by the way, that, and I've heard that from customers that said that this innovation of blending AI into workflows perhaps is as big as the AI itself.
Yeah. Well, again, it's taking the AI, the magic thing out there, and turning it into something actually useful and important and valuable, right? So ultimately, it's more important than the magic part. Although I do believe in magic. But
you need the engine and you need the car, right? So the AI is the engine, but you need the car.
Right, exactly. Can't drive an engine without it.
That kind of brings up a conversation, a thread line that seems to, I'll see if it kind of comes through you. With AI hoping, I think a lot of companies are hoping that AI helps with automation, with making, helping their agents be better agents, with a co-pilot, so to speak. But you're also hearing about, okay, this AI is leading, to better, smarter automation, but is automation leading to autonomy? and you're hearing a lot of talk about the autonomous enterprise. Do you see the end game being that as you integrate and incorporate AI into these use cases that make it easier and more efficient and hopefully a more effective outcomes? But does it also start to let companies look at autonomous operations?
Yeah, I don't think that is in our near future. Again, because at the end, what brands want to do is develop customer relationships, and that's going to require people to people. I do think that, again, the promise of AI is to really help improve CX while reducing operating cost. It's not just about reducing cost, and it's not just about the agent. There's lots of roles that can use automation. For example, there's a compliance team, and we have a compliance bot, and that checks that the interactions are compliant. Takes a lot of listening to calls, and now you can really get in real time very quick updates on where you have some compliance issue and deal with them very quickly. There is different roles around the organization that can benefit from automation, and none of our bots is designed with the idea that, hey, I'm going to do a job better than a person does, but I can do a portion of the job.
Right.
A portion of the job, and typically the portion of the job that people don't like. I can definitely do that in today's technology, and I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I don't think that's going to change. We're going to have more and more ability to to automate different type of functions, but again, I just don't see that the ability to develop relationship with customers is going to be replaced by AI.
So let's take this to, let's say this: we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the other major initiative at Engage, which was the Open CCaaS platform announcement. And can you, again, here's the interesting thing. One of the things that happens at these conferences, we hear it and we're analysts, so we know what you're talking about and so on. But the world at large hears it, they know a little bit, they understand that you're doing something, but they don't really have a good idea of what you really mean by it, because there's no assumption that they could make about what it even was. So can you talk to kind of the thinking behind it and what it is, so that people who don't know it can know something about it?
Happy to. And Open CCaaS, which is the message, is very much related to the team of bots that we just discussed. So when you think about CCaaS, which is Contact Center as a Service, that's the CCaaS. The first generation of CCaaS was focused on telephony in the cloud. Contact Center historically were very much telephony centric. And when CCaaS came about, it was about, let's move to telephony to the cloud. Now, if you believe in what we discussed on the AI front, that AI now is really at the beginning of transforming the contact center and customer engagement, then the focus needs to shift from a telephony-centric platform to an AI-centric platform. So Open CCaaS that we introduced is the next generation CCaaS. And we call it open because it needs to be open in all dimensions, and especially open data, which is the key to AI, and open AI, which is incorporate any AI model that exists quickly by putting it at the core of the platform. So the same discussion we had about why customers are excited about CX automation, if they buy telephony in the cloud, they're not going to get CX automation. They're going to get telephony in the cloud. To get CX automation, they need telephony. That's not going away, but they also need digital and social channels, and they also need all these bots to work with their workforce to automate, to increase CX, and to reduce operating costs. So next generation Open CCaaS is building on the first generation telephony-centered CCaaS.
This has been a really great conversation. We're getting close to the end, but I want to kind of wrap things back around in that clip that we played that you talked about a year ago, this $2 trillion that's being spent on employees, basically, whereas only, I think it was 65 billion, or was it 65 or $650
billion on technology and $2 trillion on labor.
So we're talking about 97%, 3%. What should the optimal mix be in terms of what companies should be looking to spend, if there is one? But it sounds like right now, the way this engagement capacity gap is continually growing is because the optimal spend isn't being used right now.
Yes, and it wasn't used more because, again, for telephony, why would you spend more on telephony? It doesn't create different outcome. But for AI, I think organization would be happy to spend more money on AI as they get to shave some of that $2 trillion. I do expect that what customers are going to do is the saving. They're partially going to bring it to the bottom line and partially going to bring it into elevating CX, because we also hear from boards and CEOs all the time, we have to get CX better. It's not, it's not where it needs to be. It's not where we want it to be. So I think we'll free dollars that will move into elevating CX. We'll see a shift in the workforce of people that will be more communicating and less searching for answers and writing summaries. So a year from now, I think when you interview me again and you play back that recording, we'll see OpenCX as being, I believe, will be a mainstream category.
We're going to actually have one of your bots on as a co-host.
It's not me. It's a bot.
But it sounds like if that happens, then CX becomes more of a fully realized thing throughout the organization, and not these pockets of CX where certain departments feel like they own it to the detriment of the overall experience that customers have.
Yes, but I think our data hub in the platform really bridges all these different silos that companies have today. Because, the contact center as a function, as their objectives, and there's the websites, right? And you have branches and stores. And each one of these has customer engagement, but obviously they have their own optimization that they want to do. By putting all this data and connecting the silos through one single unified data hub, you empower people in different parts of the organization to understand how they impact each other. You know that most of the calls in the contact center actually occur after people try to self-service on the web and failed. Yeah. And people in the contact center love to understand what's causing it, because if they can anticipate, they will be better prepared to respond to these people. And today, Verint has actually part of the data capture. We capture all the mouse clicks on the web as well. And we can have a contact center person say, "Hey, Brent, I saw you were trying to buy pajamas and you got stuck, and let me offer you the right."
That was just a bad image. I just had a really bad image there.
Hey, man, they do make Rams pajamas, so it should happen. Dan, this has been great. Thank you once again. Thanks for having us at the event, and thanks for talking to us afterward. And yeah, we definitely look forward to next year to see what you guys do and how we can learn from it. So, and we already know.
Thank you.
We don't have to ask the usual end, because we did last year, and I know the answer wasn't Patriots, so we're good.
Yeah, you're safe. You're safe again. We'll remain safe.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
It's a pleasure. Bye.
All right, that was good. It's always fun talking with him, because he's a straight shooter, and he has a way of being able to say things that are very understandable, but also relatable. I mean, it's really nice.
Again, he's a people person, and he really is. That's the thing about him that I've always liked from the day that I first met him. And he really does care about not just who people are, but he knows how they think, and he addresses them in the metaphors that they need to hear in order to understand whatever it is he's bringing up to them. And that's a smart guy. By the way, on the conversation and the blog thing, I came up with a third thing that actually now I started realizing blogs are neither conversations nor are they conversation starters per se. They're parts of conversations, meaning they could start one. Yeah, Brian's kind of right there on. I'm saying it's different. Like a blog could be part of a conversation, meaning something generated a conversation. The blog is in response to that. There's comments on the blog. It continues afterwards. It could start it. It could just have a self-contained conversation that never goes anywhere but the blog. It can be any one of those things. So in this, effectively arguing whether it's a starter or a conversation is kind of irrelevant, to be honest. What's really important about it is one way or the other, it's part of some conversation going on in some way, more than likely.
You know what? The biggest part of me for that whole thing was the bickering. I don't care about that. I was just happy that there was some good bickering going on. Yeah.
There'll be more. I mean, wait till Lauren gets on, man. Lauren is
Lauren, Liz, the bro hammer. They're all involved in this. It'll be fun. By the way, I do think we did let Dan a little off the hook because he didn't really give us who his number one
favorite. I know.
Yeah. You know, he was smooth out. We kind of dodged that one. You know, maybe we'll have to hit him down.
Well, he went for the who was the one that said I have to pick, I can't pick, and they're all my children.
Right? That was Dan Miller at
Dan. That's right. It was Dan. Dan said that.
Actually,
he's kind of right.
Jamie Merritt did say something to the effect of, "What are you trying to make me do a Sophie's Choice here?"
Yeah. Yeah, but I went with Celia's choice because she knew Freddie was the underdog.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I went for the same thing. He's the underdog. When he on the stage, he was like second, right? He was like the backup.
Yeah. But right? Having worked in a call center like decades ago, that summary bot, that one spoke to me.
Yeah, I can believe it. It was good all the way around. It was a good conversation. Well, I now have my conclusion is a blog is just part of a conversation in some way. There's my answer.
You know what it's 2023 and we're still talking about blogs?
Well, they still exist. I'm sorry. It's like, remember everything that was going to replace email?
Well,
right?
the phone is that ever happened?
Yeah, slightly. It's email's like bigger than it ever was. Or we were going to have a paperless world. Do not tell my office that, right?
Is there a telegraph? I mean, do people still do like Morse code for stuff?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they use, but I think once they cracked Enigma, that it's good. It was
Look
good.
at Lisa, a true communications pro here. We love all our bots equally.
No favorite child. That was the same rationale. No favorite child.
No bot left behind.
That's right. That's right.
And on that note, I had fun on this show. There's a lot of good insights. I'm glad the Brohammer stopped by. I'm glad that Whispered Insights.
You know, it's funny when you said guess, I literally thought John Reed. I'm not joking.
Really?
Yeah, I knew. He's usually that guest.
I'm gonna have to come up with somebody else now that you put it,
because it's almost always him, right? So
you can always rely on the Brohammer, man.
Yeah. That's why he's called the Brohammer. It's the part. It's the bro part.
You know what? That name is catching on. I mean, when I knew it was catching on when Brian Summer called him the Brohammer on one of their shows, and
I didn't know that. Ooh.
Yeah, and then Esteban, he called him the Broheimer. I think.
Yeah, the Broheimer. I know.
Close enough.
Yeah, not really.
All right, folks. So that's CRM Playaz for this week. Lots of cool stuff next week. Lots of cool people. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. But in the meantime, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we can't go without seeing Minnie on her back.
The best ever. There she is.
See you next week.